is the topic of Unit 5. So in Unit 5, these types of earthing is there. So if you see the previous question papers also, so here it is there here. You can see here. So see here 15B. See 15B.
सर क्वेश्चन रिपीट है क्या सर प्रीवियस पेपर्स నుంచి
చెప్పలేను See here 15B. With a neat diagram, explain any one method of earthing.
సార్
Yes.
సార్ క్వశ్చన్స్ రిపీట్ అయితే సార్ ప్రీవియస్ పేపర్స్ నుంచి
అలా ఏం చెప్పలేము. Just I am showing the importance of the questions. I am showing just the importance of the questions. Okay. So you must be ready with all the topics. So here one methods of earthing. I forgot to keep these notes in the Google Drive, so I will put this one. So see here. So what is earthing and methods of earthing? Today in our class I am going to explain what is earthing and methods of earthing. So there are 4 methods. So why earthing is required? So let us see the importance of the earthing. So here already I told that the process of connecting the metallic frame of the electrical equipment or some part of electrical system, that is neutral point of a star connected transformer. So neutral point in a star connected system to earth. So here finally the process of connecting the metallic frame of the equipment or some electrical part of the system to the earth is called as earthing. Okay, you know that the potential of the earth is 0. Okay, potential of the earth is considered to be 0. Next, so here when you connect the body of the equipment, so if you make the body of the equipment to 0, so if you make the potential of the body of the equipment to 0, so then the operating personnel can be protected against electrical shock. So here earthing means the process of connecting the metallic frame of the electrical equipment or some electrical part of the system to the earth is called earthing. Now, so here, so earthing brings the potential of the body of the equipment to 0. Okay, so this is protecting the operating personnel against electrical shock. So let us see the necessity of earthing. So first one is to protect the operating personnel from the danger of shock. Next, to maintain the line voltage constant, to avoid risk of fire due to earth leakage current. So protection of the equipment and protection of large buildings and all machines. So here there are 4 types of earthings. So there are here the various methods of earthing in common use are: first one is plate earthing, second one is pipe earthing, third one is rod earthing, and fourth one is strip or wire earthing. So coming to plate earthing. So here in plate earthing we are going to use a plate. So see here, this is the plate, copper plate, so which is buried inside the earth not less than 3 meters. So let us see the points here. See here, in this method, either a copper plate of dimensions 60 centimeter into 60 centimeter into 3.18, so length, breadth and thickness is given, or GI plate, galvanized iron. So GI plate, so see, this is 60 into 60 into 6.35 is used for earthing. So the plate is buried into the ground not less than 3 meters from the ground level. So the earth plate is embedded in alternative layers of coal and salt. So you are going to use coal layer and salt layer alternately for a thickness of 15 centimeters as shown in the figure. See here. See here. So charcoal and salt mixture. In addition, water is poured for keeping the Earth's electrode resistance value below a maximum value of 5 ohms. So we are going to reduce the resistance. Next, the earth wire is securely bolted to the earth plate. So we can see the earth wire. So the earth wire is securely bolted to the earth plate. So a cement masonry chamber is built with a iron case cover for easy regular maintenance. So you can see here the copper wire for connection. So copper wire is connected here. So copper wire is connected to this copper plate, and you have this water, and you have this charcoal and salt mixture. So this is about the plate earthing. Next, pipe earthing. So here we are going to use a pipe. So here GI pipe. Here also GI pipe is there, and charcoal, salt. So earthware is connected to GI pipe, and GI pipe is buried in this here. So you can go through these points. So next one is the rod earthing. So here we are going to use a rod, earth rod. So previously pipe earthing means we are going to use a pipe. Here rod means we are going to use a earth rod. So rod means it is inside will be here. You know the difference between a rod and a pipe. Pipe means center there will be hollow. Rod means there inside there will be no hollow part. So it is a completely filled part, solid part. This one earth rod. So you can see earth lid, earth pit. This is the ground level, and here electrolytic roots. So similarly, you can see here strip or wire earthing. So this I will going to put this in the Google Drive. You can access this one. So in the last class, I am revising the unit 3, right? So have I completed this three-phase O-type transformer? Yeah, please respond. So let me explain this. Losses in a transformer. So the losses in a transformer. Yeah, anyone respond up to what topic I have covered in the last class? This unit 3. Tuesday I have taken the class, right?
Yes, sir.
Tuesday up to what topic I have covered in unit 3? Are you able to remember?
ట్రాన్స్ఫార్మర్ చెప్పారు సార్.
Transformer?
ట్రాన్స్ఫార్మర్ దాకా చెప్పారు సార్.
Transformer starting above. Transformer itself is. So transformer start చేసానా?
కాదు సార్, ట్రాన్స్ఫార్మర్ అయిపోయింది అంటున్నా సార్.
Transformer, auto transformer start చేసానా? So I am taking class to you and also for ECA section. I forgot up to what topic I have covered. I am doing the revision, right? So BH curve completed. Ideal transformer. So if you see ideal transformer, there will be no winding resistance, no leakage flux, no iron losses, zero magnetizing current. Okay. See here, this is the phasor diagram of a ideal transformer under no load condition. But here we are considering the magnetizing current also. So if you don't want to consider magnetizing current, just you can eliminate this IM and draw this diagram. So if you eliminate the IM and if you draw the diagram, so it will be the phasor diagram of an ideal transformer under no load condition. So if you put IM, you can mention with IM. See here, let us see the working of this auto transformer. Sorry, working of this two winding transformer. So when a voltage V1 is applied to the primary, the current IM will be flowing through the primary winding. So under no load condition, IM will be flowing. Now here, so this IM is alternating current. So this alternating current will set up the alternating flux. So this alternating flux will flow in this core and okay. So here, so this IM is alternating current. So this alternating current will set up the alternating flux phi. So this alternating flux will flow in this core and it links with the windings, primary winding and secondary winding, and induces the voltages E1 and E2 due to Faraday's laws of electromagnetic induction. So here if you see Faraday's laws of electromagnetic induction, when there is a relative motion between the flux and the conductor, EMF will be induced in the conductor. So here the conductor, here the winding is stationary, but the flux is alternating. The flux is changing its direction, and also here mainly it is changing the value. So here the flux is alternating flux. So it is a changing flux. So when this changing flux links with the winding, EMF will be induced in the winding. So here you can see here. So the EMF is induced. This induced EMF is known as statically induced EMF. So what is meant by statically induced EMF means, so here the conductor is stationary. So here there is no moving parts. So only the flux is changing. So here when a alternating flux links with the coil, EMF is induced in the coil. This induced EMF is known as statically induced EMF. Now coming to Lenz law. What is meant by Lenz law? The induced EMF is in such a direction as to oppose the cause. Lenz's law is the induced EMF is in such a direction as to oppose the cause. So this is very important. Lenz's law. So Lenz's law, it will come again in DC motors also. In DC motors, we are calling back EMF. Why it is called as back EMF means the induced EMF in the armature conductors will be opposite to the cause. What is the cause in DC motors? The cause is the supply voltage itself. So here the induced EMF is opposite to the cause. In so that is Lenz's law. So the induced EMF is in such a direction as to oppose the cause. So here V1 I1 is equal to V2 I2. So I2 by I1 is equal to V1 by V2 is equal to 1 by K. So now coming to the phasor diagram of an ideal transformer for inductive load. So this is the phasor diagram of an ideal transformer for inductive load. So here you can see here we have V1 and the flux phi. Phi lags V1 by 90 degrees, and here induced EMF will be opposite to the V1. So here you are going to get E2. So here lagging load. So inductive load means current lags the voltage. So here theta 2 is the angle between I2 and E2. Now here due to the flow of current I2 in the secondary, so primary will draw more current. So here so I1 is equal to I2 dash. So what is I2 dash? K into I2. So K into I2 is the I2 dash. So here, so this is very important. So what is I2 dash means, which is equal to K into I2. So here I1 is equal to I2 dash, which is equal to K into I2. How you got this K into I2? You know that I1 by I2 is equal to V2 by V2, V2 by V1, which is equal to N2 by N1, which is equal to K. So from this I1 is equal to K into I2. So which is called as I2 dash. So, so, so here I2 dash is equal to K into I2. So I2 dash means I2 when referred to primary is called as I2 dash, which is equal to K into I2. So here I1 is equal to I2 dash, which is equal to K into I2. So this is the phasor diagram of an ideal transformer for inductive load. So why the transformer rating is in kVA? Here the losses, if you see these losses, we have two types of losses. So core losses and copper losses. Copper losses are also called as ohmic losses. So core losses depends upon the transformer voltage. Copper losses or ohmic losses depends on transformer current. So why it is called as ohmic losses means, so here these copper losses occur due to resistance of the copper winding. So copper winding will have small resistance. So due to that resistance, when a current flows through the copper winding, copper losses will be there. So that is due to resistance of the copper winding. Resistance units are ohms. So that's why it is called as ohmic losses. As these losses depends upon transformer voltage and current. So core losses depends on transformer voltage. Copper losses depends upon current. So here, even if you have a, so that's why here the rating of the transformer is in kVA. Suppose here Suppose here you can see here, for example, transformer transformer has a load with a power factor equal to 0. So suppose to the secondary of the uh, transformer, if you connect a load having power factor equal to 0. So what are the loads which are having a power factor of 0? Pure inductor or a pure capacitor. So let us consider a pure inductor is connected to the transformer secondary. Then what happens? So whatever the power is equal to VI cos phi. The power is equal to cos phi. If VI into if cos phi is equal to 0, then what happens? Output power is equal to 0. So output power equal to 0. But there will be losses. So there will be core losses as the rated voltage is applied, and there will be full load copper losses if the transformer is drawing the full load secondary current. So here the transformer is fully loaded. Even if the transformer is fully loaded, output power is 0. That's why here the transformer is rated in kVA. So here, for example, transformer has a load with power factor equal to 0, has the rated losses, but delivers 0 power. So that's why here, as the losses are proportional to voltage and as the core losses are proportional to voltage and copper losses are proportional to current, that's why the rating of the transformer is in kVA, not in kilowatt. Now coming to a practical transformer. A practical transformer has a winding resistance, leakage flux, iron loss, and requires magnetizing current. Now if you let us see this equivalent circuit diagram. So here R1 is the resistance of the copper winding, JX1 is the impedance. This will take into account the leakage flux of the primary. So RC is the core loss resistance. So IW square RC is the core loss. Next, so here the transformer requires some current for getting the flux. So that is IM. So XM. So XM is the reactance. So this will take into account the permeability. Next, J into X2. This will take into account the leakage flux of the secondary winding. R2 is the resistance of the secondary winding. Hello? Yeah. Yes. Okay. Yeah, tell me. నేను బిజీ ఉన్నాను నేను మళ్ళీ కాల్ చేయండి రిక్వెస్ట్ చేయండి. Okay. So here all the values are written. R1, R2 represents the winding resistance, X1, X2 represents the leakage reactance for considering leakage fluxes. RC is the core loss resistance for considering the core loss. IM is used for setting up the magnetic flux in the core. IM is called magnetizing current. So this is the phasor diagram of the practical transformer under no load condition. So here under no load condition you are going to have the current I0, I2 is equal to 0 because under no load. So if you don't connect any load to the secondary, I2 will be 0. But current will be flowing through the primary winding. So I0 is the no load current. So here it has two components, IM and IW. Now here I0 R1 is the voltage drop due to winding resistance, and J I0 X1 is the voltage drop due to leakage flux. If you add these two, you are going to get the supply voltage. If you are not able to draw this one, We can draw a simple diagram. I will show that one. So this is enough. This small diagram is enough. So what is the difference between those two means? Here V1 is directly taken. See here you have V1. In this, so here instead of V1, yes, I am getting this one. Please mute your microphone. If you have any doubts, you can express me. I will wait. Okay, shall I continue? Okay, here voltage drop due to primary winding and voltage drop due to leakage flux is considered, and I1 is written here. So V1 is written here. Now here, instead of that, see only V1. So the voltage drop due to no load current is negligible. That's why you can take directly V1. So if you take a practical transformer, it has a winding resistance, leakage flux. So here middle you can see the ideal transformer. So this is the phasor diagram of a practical transformer under inductive load. This is just for information. This is not required for you. So next, impedance ratio. So mainly you have to know about the problem. This problem. The voltage regulation just it is not there in the syllabus, but they may ask the definition. So in open circuit test, so here in open circuit test, we are going to open the secondary and we are going to apply the full load rated voltage to the primary. Here in this case, we are going to get the core losses. Here the copper losses are negligible because the I0 value will be very small. The copper losses are negligible. So in open circuit test, we are going to find the core losses. So here in your syllabus, open circuit test is not there, just for information. But here you have to know one point, only one point, that is in open circuit test, we are going to find out the core loss. See here. So here in open circuit test, the wattmeter reading will give the iron loss or core loss. So only this point is enough for you. Next, in short circuit test. In short circuit test, we are going to find out the copper losses. So in short circuit test, we are going to find the full load copper losses. Full load copper losses. This point is enough. So remaining are just for information. So here in the losses in a transformer, so you have the core loss and copper loss. So iron losses you are going to find using open circuit test. Copper losses you are going to find using short circuit test. Now let us see the problem here. So here you can see here why the core losses are dependent on the voltage means. So hysteresis losses you can see the expression, and eddy current losses you can see the expression. Now here KH is a constant, F is the supply frequency which will be constant. Now BM, so BM is proportional, BM is the maximum flux density, so BM is proportional to V by F. Our supply voltage will be constant and frequency will be constant, so B will be constant. So here finally core losses will be constant and depends upon the voltage and frequency. As the voltage and frequency are constant, core losses will be constant. Now coming to, so here coming to copper losses. Now copper losses depends upon the current. Now, copper losses depends upon the current. So current depends upon the load. When the load increases, if you connect more equipment to the load, if you connect more equipment to the secondary of the transformer, current increases. When the current increases, copper losses increases. So you can see here I square R1 plus I square I1 square R1 plus I2 square R2. So what is I1 square R1? So here R1 is the resistance of the primary winding. So here I1 square R1 is the copper losses in the primary winding, which occur in the form of heat. I2 square R2 is the copper losses in the secondary winding of the transformer. So here this can be written as I1 square R01 or I2 square R02. So if you understand this I square R, it is enough to solve the problem. So problem is very important. So for solving the problem on efficiency, these are required. So let us take the problem here. So here, before going to that, let us see these two formulas. So here, efficiency at full load is equal to full load VA, that is the rating of the transformer, into power factor. So we are going to get the actual power, that is true power in watts. So this is the output. And what about the input? Efficiency, you know, output by input. So output power is full load VA into power factor. It gives the full load output. Next, full load out. This is the output plus losses. What are the losses? PI plus PC. PI is iron loss. PC is the copper loss. Next, instead of full load, let us take x into full load. So here x into full load, where x is the fraction. Okay. So here if the full load is, if the load is equal to x into full load, there is a fraction of the full load, then this is the formula for efficiency. Now the total losses become PI plus x square PC. So here this is PC. So PI plus x square PC. Suppose if the load current becomes 1 by 2 times the full load current, then the copper losses will be equal to x square PC. X, if you substitute 1 by 2, so 1 by 2 square PC. Let us do a problem on this. So here, after this problem, I am going to end the class. See here, in a 50 kVA transformer, iron loss equal to 500 watt and full load copper loss is equal to 800 watt. Find the efficiency at full load and half full load at 0.8 power factor lagging. So here, so we are going to find out the efficiency at full load and efficiency at half full load at 0.8 power factor lagging. Now let us take this formula. So here, so full load output. What about the full load output? As I told you, kVA into power factor. So here full load means we have to take the 50 kVA. 50 kVA into 0.8, you are going to get 40 kilowatt. And what about the total full load losses? Next, after calculating the output, you have to calculate the losses. So losses is equal to PI plus PC. So PI 500 is given. PC copper loss is 800. We are going to get the losses. Now input is equal to output plus losses. So here we are going to find out the efficiency, output by input. You are going to get the full load efficiency. Now coming to half load efficiency. So how you are going to calculate the half load efficiency? Half load means, so here the output power is only the current. The value of the current will be only 1 by 2, half of the full load current. So when the current is only half of the full load current, power is given by, so output is given by 50 into 1 by 2 into 0.8, 20 kilowatt. So this is the output. Okay, this is the output. In the lab also you have done the experiment. Some of you have done the experiment. Okay, so this is the output. Now coming to input. So before going to input, we have to calculate the total losses at half full load. So which is equal to PI. Here, this is PI, which is equal to 500 plus x square PC. So here we are going to get x square PC. So Ix square means current becomes half, so power becomes X square. I square means X square here. So 1 by 2 square into 800. So you are going to get 0.7 kilowatt as the total loss at half full load. So input is equal to output plus losses. 20 plus 0.7. So this is the input. Now calculate the efficiency, output by input. So by this you are going to get. So mostly they will give the problem on this one. Okay. Okay. So if you see the previous, you keep the previous question papers as reference. Okay. It shows the importance of the. You can take those as important questions. If you are able to solve those type of problems, same models may come, values may differ. Okay, values will be different, model will be covered, same model will be there. So here, go through this problem. So in the next class I will continue this auto transformer if provided. So here, let me clear your doubts. If you have any doubts, you can express. Let me know. Third unit or fourth unit. Yeah, please respond. Are you there? Anyone?
Yes, sir.
Problem అర్థమైందా? Have you understood this problem on efficiency?
Yes, sir.
Yeah, I will show. Okay, very good. So here in auto transformer, a part of the winding is common to both primary and secondary. See here, only one winding will be there, and a part of the winding is common to both primary and secondary. So here, this part N2 turns are common to both primary and secondary. So what is the N1 here? A to B. From the point A to point B is the number of turns in the primary. That is N1. Now coming to N2, it is the number of turns between C and P. C and B. Now as N2 is less than N1, this is the step down auto transformer. Now you can see here, this is a step up auto transformer. So in the lab you have a variable auto transformer. V1 will be constant. V1 is the supply voltage, and V2 we are going to change by changing the number of turns. So here number of turns, by increasing the number of turns, V2 can be changed. So that is the auto transformer. This is a step down auto transformer, step up auto transformer. So this is a three-phase core type transformer. So you have the three-phase means you will be having three single-phase circuits. So you have three phases. So here phase one, let us take R phase, Y phase, B phase, three phases, and secondary R phase, Y phase, B phase, and you can connect these three-phase circuits. You can connect these three single-phase circuits to a three-phase circuit in star or delta. So if you have three single-phase circuits, okay, so there will be a phase difference of 120 degrees between R and Y, and there will be a phase difference of 120 degrees between Y and B. So here you can connect this three single phase circuits in star or delta. So based on this, you are going to have star delta, delta star, delta delta, star star connections. So let us see star delta transformer. So here, if in a transformer, the windings are connected in such a way that the similar points are connected and wires are drawn from the dissimilar ends, it becomes a star point. And the windings on the secondary are connected in delta. So this type of transformer is called as star delta transformer. delta star, primary delta, secondary star, delta delta, star star connection. And here you can see here in star connection, the line current is equal to phase current, whereas the phase voltage is equal to V by root 3 if the line voltage is V. So here the line voltage is V, the phase voltage is V by root 3. So construction of three-phase induction motors. So here these diagrams are not important in exam. If you are able to draw, you can draw. So the main diagrams are. So this is the main. This is important. You can easily draw. This is not required. This diagram is not required. Just in exam it is not required, but you can use this for understanding. So just for understanding this diagram, okay, no need to draw in the exam. You will not have the time. So this for wound rotor, this you can draw. This is not required. This is just for understanding. In the exam, if you draw this one, it is enough. So coming to this, so coming to the working of the three-phase induction motor. So the working is given here. See here. So principle of operation. The principle of operation of a three-phase induction motor, very important one. So how the three-phase induction motor works? So when a three-phase supply is given to the stator winding, how the rotor rotates, that we have to know. See here, very important one. As all of you listen. First point, see the first point. When three-phase supply is given to the stator winding, a rotating magnetic field rotating at a synchronous speed is produced. So what is meant by rotating magnetic field? It will be rotating. So here, so let us take, if this is the direction of the magnetic field at one instant, after some time this will be the direction and this will be the direction. Like this, the magnetic field will be rotating. So you can see here the proof of a rotating magnetic field. See here. So at omega t equal to 0, so this is the direction of the rotating magnetic field. Okay, it is upwards. Okay. So this is the direction of the rotating magnetic field upwards. At omega t equal to 60 degrees, this is the direction. So here you can see the direction of the magnetic field changes. So after at omega t equal to 120 degrees, this is the direction. So at omega t equal to 180 degrees, this is the direction. So here you can see the magnetic field is rotating. So here where will be this magnetic field here in the diagram? Here. So if you see this, so here when a three-phase supply is given to the stator winding, a rotating magnetic field is produced. So here the magnetic field will be rotating. So at one instant this will be the direction. This will be the, in this way the magnetic field will be rotating. Okay, it will be rotating. So here the speed of this rotating magnetic field is, so here the speed of this rotating magnetic field is ns equal to 120 f by p. So let us consider if we have f equal to 50 hertz. In India we have f equal to 50 hertz. Suppose p equal to 4 poles. So here if you have a 4 pole, so p equal to 4 pole. So p is the number of poles. If you take a 4 pole machine, then what will be ns? One of you calculate and tell me what is ns. Yeah, within 5 minutes I am going to close the class. So what is ns? If you substitute f equal to 50 and p equal to 4, what is ns? in the lab, some of you have done. See here, if you substitute P equal to 50 and sorry, F equal to 50 and P equal to 4, you are going to get N is equal to 1500 RPM. 1500 RPM. So in 1 minute, it makes 1500 revolutions. So that will be the speed of the rotating magnetic field. So when a three-phase supply is given to the stator winding, a rotating magnetic field rotating at synchronous speed, N is equal to 120 over P is produced. Okay, a rotating magnetic field is produced. When a three-phase supply is given to stator winding, a rotating magnetic field is produced. Next, so the stationary rotor conductors cut the rotating field and thus EMF is induced. So when the stationary rotor conductors cut the rotating field and due to electromagnetic induction, an EMF is induced in the rotor conductors. Okay. So here, since the rotor circuit is complete means closed. You can see the rotor circuit is complete. If you take a squirrel cage here, when EMF is induced in the rotor conductors, current will be flowing through the rotor conductors, right? Because here the conductors are closed by these end rings. So here the conductors are connected by end rings. When EMF is induced in the conductor, current will be flowing through the conductors because a closed path is there. Similarly, take this also. Here also it will be completed by these slip rings and through brushes and through external resistance. You can see a closed path in wound rotor also. So when a EMF is induced in these conductors, current will be flowing through these conductors. So since the rotor circuit is closed, either through end rings in case of squirrel cage or an external resistance in case of slip ring rotor, the induced EMF causes a current to flow in the rotor conductors. Okay, current will be flowing in the rotor conductors. The direction of this induced current is given by Fleming's right hand rule. Okay, generator means direction of induced EMF is given by Fleming's right hand rule. So the current in the rotor conductor produces its own magnetic field. Okay, we know that when a current carrying conductor is put in a magnetic field, a force is produced on it. Thus, a force is produced on the rotor conductors. The direction of this force can be found by Fleming's left hand rule. So here, when the rotor conductors carry current, they experience force because we know that a current carrying conductor placed in a magnetic field experiences force, and the direction of the force is given by Fleming's left hand rule. Fleming's left hand rule. Okay, in this way, the rotor will be rotating. So this is about the unit 3. Okay. So let me take the attendance. Number 61, 62. Absent. 66, 60, 70, 74 to